Hi, everybody. This is Melanie Headley. You are listening to ToRAISE Questions Doula podcast. I am sitting here with Therese Hakoun. She is the executive director of To Labor, which is a training and certifying doula organization known internationally. I'm also sitting here, yay, with...
Hi, everybody. It's Sarah Allen Short. I'm back.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
This is so exciting.
It is. It's so nice. It feels like, I feel like we're in the best of everything to have both of you guys here. So it's just wonderful.
I love just hearing your voice now. I got like a little teary-eyed.
Aw, you guys are so sweet. I missed you too. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Well, I feel like people will be really happy to hear your voice again, because they talk about the podcast all the time, and we have people who are just beginning to listen, so they only know Sarah's voice and they haven't gotten to Melanie yet. So it's really, really nice.
That's what I do when I listen to a new podcast. I go start from the beginning. So yeah. Well, hi everybody, I'm back. Hope you liked me and you didn't hate me, because I'm here.
So what are we talking about, Therese?
Well, this is kind of a follow-up to one of our last podcasts about the spirit of being a doula, just because we've gotten some feedback from people. And
we've gotten some really great feedback. Yeah. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Yeah, so we just want to talk about that. And we invited Sarah to come in and talk as well, and just because we wanted her to hang around.
And we love her opinions on everything.
That's it.
Okay, well, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
So I'm really excited, Melanie. I know you are too, that we have a wonderful sponsor right now.
I am thrilled, over the moon.
So it is Latched Mama.
This local to Richmond company is amazing.
And they're international, though, as far as what where their product can go.
Grown in Richmond, I should say.
Grown in Richmond, yeah.
They were grown in Richmond. And I've had I've been so fortunate to meet and encounter and to get to know Melissa Wirt, who owns Latched Mama and dreamed up this idea. And she's just such a phenomenal person.
She is. She's such a great person, and turning into an amazing businesswoman, which I think she probably already was, but I don't think she knew how.
Always with the baby on her.
That's
always
it.
with the baby on her chest.
And so what is Latched Mama?
So it is a beautiful line of nursing clothing. And, this wasn't around when I was nursing my own babies.
Me either.
I always had to be really tricky. I would wear a nursing tank and then another shirt. And so I would have to be hot with layers and pull it up and pull it down and then a nursing bra underneath. And now she's made these really, you should feel how soft and stretchy and thin
I
these
know.
shirts are. Oh, I sleep in one. I'm not even nursing a baby.
Right, I know.
But she makes these gorgeous dresses that it doesn't look like nursing clothing.
I know. I remember Melissa, which I gave her a little bit of a hard time. 1 week after her last baby was born, she has 3 kids. Mm-hmm. She was out at a function that we were all at.
Yeah, you have heard her voice
that's right.
on this podcast.
That's
before.
right. She was at that RVA birth evening that we were podcasting from. Anyway, she had on a really nice dress.
She looked amazing.
She did. And it was a breastfeeding, one of her dresses.
She looked hot.
Yes. And, you can wear whatever you want when you're breastfeeding, but why her shirts, her sweatshirts, her
hoodies are so cute.
Yeah. The dresses are just really nice and so practical.
Yes.
So we are really happy to have Latched Mama as a sponsor of the podcast. You can look at their website at latchedmama.com. They have a very wonderful Facebook page as well, Facebook/Latched Mama.
And they're coming out with a periodical as well.
Yes, they're going to have a magazine.
Yeah.
They check out their clothing, pass it on to your clients, get involved in their Facebook page. They have a great blog also. So thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Okay, so I think that first of all, we want to start with talking about The Spirit of a Doula, the episode that we did a few weeks back. And you've got some letters here.
Yeah. And I just want to say that we got a multitude of different responses to the podcast. I will say that overwhelmingly we got a lot of really positive support for our conversation, which and a lot of not just positive, but also that was really thoughtful. It was really gave me a place to think from how I want to practice or how I am practicing. So we really appreciate that. And as expected, as I hope I said in that podcast, not everybody agreed either. And totally respect that everyone has a different point of view. I mean, this is, a forum that we're speaking from, and that, as you heard, really came a lot from how I feel, but that I'm not the ruler. I'm not the one who makes the rules. It's just to put the conversation out there and the dialogue. So, from the some that had different points of view on this, we got some really thoughtful letters, and two of them kind of exemplified what other people were saying. And so I just wanted to for us to discuss that a little bit more and delve a little bit deeper into some of the things that they brought up in their comments about the episode, what we were talking about.
Great. And hearing your feedback, and then also hearing Sarah's as well.
Right. Two doulas wrote, one Amanda and another Andrea. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how you pronounce your name. Gave some really lovely, thoughtful, and disagreeing input, and not totally disagreeing. I mean, they are doulas who want to be doulas because they are impassioned by birth. They're not in it for the money, but they feel very strongly that the money is a very important facet of this work.
So what was their main point? Was it about the overcharge for the beyond 12 hours, or was it about the...
It was a combination, and that's why we chose these two as an example. On the one hand, there was the discussion of the free births, the lower cost births, the sliding scale births, feeling that is not necessarily an appropriate way for doulas to, conduct their business. That they, one of them had done free births in the beginning and felt very comfortable with that, but that eventually realized, or pretty early on, how hard the work was and what was involved, and felt like that they wanted to be compensated for it. I just want to express, and you two sitting here, I think know me well enough and have heard this so many times. I completely agree with you that you should get paid. That is never a question in my mind. And that was not to, I'm sorry if that was misinterpreted.
So the point you were making was really that about the everybody deserves a doula versus a doula is a luxury. You were saying
right.
that only you can only get a doula if you can afford it. I know there's some people who feel
right.
like you can only get a doula if you afford it, if you can afford it. And if you can't, too bad. Like you don't get a diamond wristwatch and you don't get a doula. And
right.
Your point was not that doulas shouldn't make money, but that you feel like it's a little bit more
involved in that. Yes. And thank you. Because that's what, so I just wanted us to be able to reiterate that, and what I believe we talked about was that doulas can set a fee that feels really comfortable to them and that feels like it is a living wage if that's what they're needing this to be. And you can't charge, the fees around the country are based on what the economy in that community will be able to afford. if you live in a community where the majority of doulas are charging $500 because they realize that the population of people will only be able to afford that because that is the economy there, for someone to charge $1,000 or $1,500, that's totally your right to do. But the likelihood of that doula being able to have enough work is not very realistic. Unless you have a targeted audience of just those who truly can afford that much money.
And some people do. Some people do that.
That's it.
What they choose.
And that's what they do.
It seems like, I hear some people saying doula work should be not all about the money, but get your money. It's a business. This is a business, and you should never, ever, ever do free births. And then I hear some people saying, every woman needs a doula, and if you have to do it for free, do it for free. And what I heard you guys say last week was a little bit in between. I really liked what Melanie said, that she charges, and then every once in a while when there's someone that she feels like needs a reduced fee or free birth, depending on their situation, you take that on a case by case. I think there are people who would say you should never do that. I disagree. I think it's absolutely, I guess my point is, why can't we all do what we want to do? And if you want to charge $1,000 and if you want to do free births, do it.
That's it.
I feel like people get worried. The $1,000 doulas get really worried when there's a lot of people doing free or low cost births. And in my experience, the most experienced, talented, skilled doulas are not short on business because of competition. They're short, that they're going to get enough business. And that a lot of times when people are being undercut, there might be something else they could look at, like their presentation in an interview, or if they're losing a lot of business. There's a range of prices on photographers. There's a range of prices on grocery stores. There's a range of prices. Massage therapist,
acupuncturist.
Right. And each, experience, the acupuncturist in our town who charges, $150 an hour isn't complaining about the one who charges $60 because he's got plenty of business.
Right. Right.
And I know that's an oversimplification.
Well,
there are communities where it really is harmful, but I sort of feel like let's just all do our own thing and focus on our own business.
Well, I think that was when I was talking about the spirit, we were talking about the spirit of the doula work. That's really what we were trying to say. It's that there are going to be people who are going to try and undercut you, who are intentionally going to do that. So they are. Something about another doula right in front of her said. Yes, this is in one of the letters.
Another doula, they were both talking to someone and the other doula said she was cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I just think if that client sees her do that and likes her better, that's not a client you want.
She said, I literally had a sister doula step in between me and a potential client I was talking to and offer her services for less than she was, because she was in training. She saw herself as helping this person when in reality she took an opportunity away from me and even herself to support our families, but also keep doing this work.
I just think I have spent so many of my 40 years worrying about what other people are doing. And I'm really trying to do that less. If that client saw that happen and was attracted to that business model and that approach, there's nothing you can do about that. What's more likely is that new doula, that new sister doula, is going to get feedback from multiple places that's shady, and she's going to stop doing it.
I know. And yet I was also, I want to phrase this in a way that we can discuss it. You might be accused then of not being sympathetic to that person for what they went through.
To which person?
To the doula who got stepped on.
Oh, what I'm trying to say is I'm totally sympathetic, and I would feel exactly the same way in her position. Absolutely. If someone did that to me, I would be so angry. But my higher self wants to say I would try to get past it. No, that's a good point. That doula who wrote that might be listening and saying like, well, what the hell? Just, I get it. I just think my higher self is trying to remind my lower self.
Right.
That I can't control what anybody else does ever. And the only thing I control is what I do. And so I still get mad when people talk about me behind my back. I still get mad when someone undermines me professionally. I still get mad if I feel like I'm in an unfair competitive situation. But what you think you're not responsible for what you think. You're responsible for what you do.
Right.
And so really what this doula is saying is, what should I do about that? Or can you fix it? Or can you tell doulas not to undercut each other? And well, you tried. The people who are going to be receptive to that are going to listen, and
that's
the other ones aren't.
That's it.
Well, and if this doula was in training, she's brand new, I don't know. I'm thinking from her side of things that it sounds shady to go in front of someone. If I'm imagining like a Meet the Doulas event or something like that. But maybe you just tell her that that's actually not cool, or that's not the way that they. And
in a way that's not combative, because to go on what you're saying, Melanie, I think that sometimes people don't understand, even though that's something that we discuss in our workshops, like how to be as a doula in your community, that we are not soliciting people. You're not undercutting the other doulas. You're working together to further this work.
Right, as a whole.
But that if somebody is doing something like that, she might be really like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You're right. And understand that was wrong, but somebody needs to.
Well, and cheaper isn't always better.
Well, but I don't agree with you. I agree with it. It's not always better. I agree. But I don't agree that cheap is equated to not good.
Not good either. I just think about in another profession, if you take it out of doula work and you were at again, let's say acupuncturist fair, and you went to meet with one acupuncturist and she said, I'm $150 an hour. And someone walked up and said, hey, I'm new, so I'm only $100 an hour. That's crappy to do.
Totally not the sisterhood that we were talking about.
At the same time, there are different levels of experience and different rates, and people charge different rates for all sorts of reasons. And so if you're at that fair and you go to one person and they say, I'm very experienced and I charge $150, and you walk to the next booth and the next person says, I'm new, I'm charging $100, that's totally fair game. And the only thing the $150 person can do is be at her best game and deserve every penny of that $150, and not let just to Melanie's point, cheaper isn't better. Cheaper always isn't right. It isn't always better. It isn't always worse. There's a lot of new doulas that are really good.
And what I meant by cheaper isn't always better is that wouldn't necessarily draw me to seek that. So if that's all the information I'm getting from this new doula, well, I'm cheaper, you should come talk to me. Like, I don't like the way that you just presented yourself.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, you can absolutely have wonderful support from a new doula that's charging less.
I think the point would be argued that I got from these emails is that person in training, besides that they shouldn't be stepping on somebody else's toes, that's the problem with doula work, is that there's going to be people out there doing free work, and therefore there's always going to be people who these clients can go to who will not appreciate that the $900 that you want to charge, or the $1,000. I
don't think those people who are going to a free doula are going to go to a high-end doula anyway. They're going to go to a $300 doula.
Yeah, and that's the people who should be pissed off about the free doulas, is the cheap doulas. But this is the argument that I'm not clear on. But from what I'm understanding from the doula world out there is that there should be an agreement as to how much you are charging.
That's not true in any other industry.
Well, that's what I feel like.
It's what the market can bear.
And besides what can the market bear, I do think it should be based on experience. And I think that somebody who is new in the field of doing birth work, again, they can charge whatever they want to charge, the high end, but don't, like if you go to get your hair cut, to use another business, and they have different scales of different price range, They have the one who's very experienced and they charge this much for the haircut. And then the one who is just still kind of in the practicing phase, they charge less for that person. Doesn't that work in the doula world as well?
I think it does.
I do too.
I also feel like I have a soft spot for the new doula just because I remember being a new doula.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being an experienced doula too, but I remember when I was a new doula, there was basically nothing I could do right because I did my first birth for free. And then I did a couple of really cheap births because I didn't have the confidence to feel like I was doing training. You know what I mean? Like if you were in school, you might be doing a shadowing or a mentorship or something. And I pretty quickly figured out that I was a pretty good doula and that I didn't need to have a ton of births to charge and that I could charge a fair amount of money. And so when I was doing births for cheap, people complained that I was too cheap. And then when I raised my rates early, people complained I didn't deserve to raise my rates high enough as fast as I did because I hadn't done as many births as them. And it's just sort of like, you can't win.
No, and that's where I say,
that are
just
super experienced that charge less.
Decide what you want to...
Right.
So my argument is not with these women. Matter of fact, reading their emails, I thought, well, there are a few things I still don't agree with. But generally speaking, I agree with their input as far as wanting to make enough money to be able to continue this. Because one woman said that she is a doula living on low income, and she sees doula work itself as a luxury in her community. So that and she said, only those doulas who can afford to provide support because they have the time or money, usually through a spouse that makes more than enough, are able to continue. Well, yes.
I would say raise your rates.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Because
this is a service. It's not it shouldn't be a luxury.
Right. If you are doing the work, if you really want this to be your work, because both of them others discuss that they have outside jobs that they have to figure into this. And, part of it is deciding, do you want this to be your full-time job? Because it could be your full-time job.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably a little oversimplified. I think there are communities where the community isn't there to support
enough
maybe
births.
More than one. I mean, yeah. I mean, in a smaller community or a more impoverished community, there are not going to be a lot of doulas supporting a family full time on a doula community. There just aren't, and that's where maybe her baggage comes in about it's privileged because you have to have help other ways. I mean, if you're in New York City or Washington,
that's a really good point, Sarah.
But I think that's not true everywhere.
Well, and as a doula who waited tables and did doula work at the same time for, a year and a half when I was getting into it, that's what I had to do at that point because we didn't make a lot of money and I had to have that income coming in from restaurant work until the business grew and I was able to raise my rates over and over again and gain more experience, gain more education, bringing in lactation. And so there are other things you can do to kind of solidify the fact that you're raising your rates, bring more services into the table, maybe look into the neighboring community, see, just expand a little bit there so that if birth work is your passion that's what you want to be the entirety of your job, then see if you can do other things
that complement
than doula work.
Right.
If your community doesn't support just that.
And I am not telling anyone that they shouldn't be doing doula work and it's not the right time for them to do it unless they feel like it's not the right time for them. And I will just quote that the statement was that take a moment and consider how privileged that makes you, meaning me. And I take issue with that just because I far from privileged, and nor do I consider anything that I said was privileged. And if it came out that way, I apologize to this person and to anybody else that is listening to it. I believe in this work so strongly that, yes, I have had multiple jobs at the same time of doing birth work. That was a conscious choice on my part to do it that way. Had I just focused in on primarily just being a doula, I think maybe not immediately, but eventually I would have built up enough of a clientele, a reputation, for a clientele that could have been a pretty good income. Nothing happens immediately. I don't want to argue the point. I want people to come back to feeling comfortable with what they are doing, not like what you said, Sarah, not spending a lot of time thinking about what everybody else is doing, thinking about what feels comfortable to you. If what we're talking about doesn't feel comfortable to you, then it's not my job to tell you to do it a different way.
Yeah, I think, what I hear is some people saying, doula work is a sisterhood and we should put community above business, and we should be really careful. And I think for some people that's triggering because it's the way that women have been put in their place.
I think it's
for
women,
a long time.
though.
Women are told to smile and be pretty and be nice, and anything else is seen as cutthroat. And then there are on the other end of the spectrum, doulas who are like, this is a business like anything else. Well, the truth is it's not. We keep saying it's like hairdressing or chiropractic or acupuncture. It's different in a lot of ways. I know in some ways it's similar. It's not like everything else. And it isn't just about the money. And if it is just about the money, you also, by the way, probably wouldn't be a successful acupuncturist if it was just about the money. But I just think there's these two ends of the spectrum, people who are all about the business and let's focus on the business and this is a business like anything else. And then the people who are like, you can't ever say anything mean or do anything competitive because it's a sisterhood.
I agree.
And
I don't think that.
In the middle, you know, and figure out what feels comfortable. If you are a person who thinks it's all about the sisterhood, then you do that.
Yes.
And if you are a person who thinks it's all about the business, then you do that.
That's what I mean.
And if you're someone who's in between, like most of the people listening, you do that. And
yes.
It's all, hopefully it sorts out. I feel sad for people who want to do this work more than anything and can't make it work for a full-time job. And I think Melanie's advice, raise your rates if you can get away with it, is great. And if you've done that and you've been at it for a few years, Melanie, you waited tables, you did doula work, you were teaching birthing classes, and you have a partner that has a job. So you did not just support your family on doula work.
But at this point, you basically could.
Yes. Yeah, I could. It would be hard. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's, now I've been doing it for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's, and the community's changing,
I think the goal is to make this work that is fulfilling, because any job you have should be something that you really enjoy doing, which is unfortunate that most people don't have jobs that they really enjoy. So if this is something you really enjoy, then I think that's a big part of it. And then two, that it also sustains you as best as it can financially, so
and
that you can continue.
It as a business
and you treat
profession.
it as a business, and you have contracts, and you're clear, and you streamline. Though also, you have boundary lines with your clients, so that the time frames with your clients are pretty clear cut as to how much time you're going to be with them.
And then you think people should be charging for every hour over 12 hours, right?
And so that's the...
I can't resist.
But that's the other part of the podcast that people take issue with. And those who wrote. And again, I expressed how I feel based on the stress that I believe that creates for your client. And again, if somebody is feeling like, nope, they want their regular fee and, a 12 or 18 hour clause in there where they have an hourly fee and they discuss that with their clients and that's what they're comfortable with doing, then it's not for me to say, don't do that. I just still am going to say, I want that to be a consideration as to how that works in the long run for your client's emotional state of being.
So you have heard that other people disagree. It didn't change your mind, but you want to air their opinion, and you understand different people can have different opinions.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
And
I think that Medicare should pay for doulas. And so everybody, Medicaid should pay for Medicare. For all the 70-year-old births out there, Medicaid should pay for doulas. And So everybody can make a living wage being a doula. And if you want to pick your own fancy doula, you can still pay more. So the high-end doulas can still make money. And then there would be 1 million more jobs and 1 million more births with doulas. And there would be fewer C-sections. And the world would be a magical place.
Yeah. And, you know, as one of these women wrote in her letter, she is flexible. I mean, she wants a living wage, but she also does take the time to think, well, how can I work with this person? And she feels also so she might do it for less money. Totally get it. That's what we're talking about. And also the clause, she has the right to decide at that time, she said, whether she's going to charge them or not. And I think that's wonderful. But I will just say, I still feel like just having that clause in there puts some undue pressure on your client, because they don't know what your decision is going to be.
I wonder about rewording it, or maybe even just adding $100 to your rate anyway, so that it would cover
that's what I think.
That extra hour. And so it's not, then, you get a 4-hour birth here, and then you get an 18-hour birth there, and you get a 26-hour birth, and then a 6-hour birth.
Yeah, or I just read somebody's evaluation. They were at a 55-hour birth.
Maybe you could give a refund if it's less than 12 hours and just charge whatever. No. So listen, I know we have to wrap up soon, but I think it's awesome that you guys are getting really thoughtful, intelligent letters about, from people who agree with you and disagree with you.
Oh, and I love the
discussion.
And I will
These letters
say,
are great.
The letters that we received, both the positive and the ones that disagreed, were very non-combative. I mean, they did not feel. I really appreciate that. It wasn't I just appreciated the thoughtfulness of the letter writing.
So thank you so much to all of our listeners for, first of all, listening, and then for taking the time to write back in. And we want to hear more from you about this. If you have any other topics or any other concerns have come up, any issues with what we've said today, or if you agree, if you don't agree, anything, we want to hear it.
And leave a rating. Rate these wonderful women. I was going to say a bad word. In iTunes, because it helps other people find the podcast. And we've got lots of good reviews. You don't have to give it a 5-star review, but feel free.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening.